My phone buzzed with a call from my fiancée, Chloe. She wanted me to run an errand for her. Drop off a box of condoms for her childhood friend. She said he was new in town and didn't know anyone else. And it would be weird for her, a woman, to bring something like that to a guy at a hotel. Awkward for them both. So, could I help out? I agreed. But just as I was about to walk out the door, a stream of text scrolled across my vision, like a live chat feed from some bizarre, invisible audience. LOL. The female lead has some serious nerve, making her fiancé deliver condoms for her and the male lead, and then making him listen outside the door while they hook up. Next level. Spoiler. The condoms don't even get used. This is when she gets pregnant, right? I remember this part. She tricks the scumbag fiancé into thinking the kid is his, gets him to sign a fake marriage certificate, then cleans out his family's entire fortune before dumping him. Yeah. And the fiancé dies a horrible death, ends up homeless and gets mauled by a pack of stray dogs. I froze. I'd been in my home office wrapping up some work when she called. I answered, and Chloe's sweet, soft voice came through the line. Hey honey, can you do me a huge favor? Ethan's got a girl over, and he needs a box of condoms. Don't get the wrong idea, babe, she added quickly. He's all alone in Chicago, and besides me, he doesn't know a soul. He had no one else to ask. But it's not really appropriate for me to show up at a hotel late at night with, it's just weird. Could you run them over for him? Her words left a sour taste in my mouth. Ethan Cole was her childhood friend. Or to put it another way, the guy she grew up with, her high school sweetheart. He'd moved to Chicago for a job a few weeks ago, and Chloe had insisted we show him around. To be fair, during the few days we all spent together, I never saw anything out of line. They acted like old friends catching up warm, but with a clear sense of distance. I hadn't seen him as a threat. We all have friends of the opposite sex. As long as you maintain boundaries, it's fine. But this phone call felt different. For something so personal, why not just order from Postmates? Why call Chloe? Then again, she was being so open about it. Not a hint of guilt in her voice. She'd even told me everything up front. Maybe there really was nothing to it. I pushed down the uneasy feeling. Something that private, it's probably awkward for me to show up too. Tell you what, send me the address, and I'll order a delivery for him. No, babe, you can't, she insisted. He's got this weird thing about hygiene, a real hang-up. For personal stuff like this, he only trusts friends. Having a stranger deliver it would totally freak him out. If it weren't for that, I'd have told him to use an app myself instead of bothering you. I know it's a little embarrassing, honey, but he's my oldest friend. Please, just this once. He's at the Omni Tower Hotel, room 1206. With her putting it like that, I sighed and got up, ready to do her this favor. But the moment I stood, my vision swam, and that cascade of text flooded my sight again. LMAO. This is Rich. The two of them are getting it on, and they send the fiancé to deliver the protection. Mind blown. If I remember right, they're gonna start fooling around right by the door, so the fiancé can hear everything. And they don't even use the condoms. It was just an excuse to get him there. This is totally when she gets pregnant. Yep. Then she tells the villain fiancé the baby is his, tricks him into a fraudulent marriage, and once she has all his family's money, she's out. Totally. And the villain dies a brutal death. Bankrupt, homeless, eaten alive by wild dogs. Classic. Dude. No more spoilers. I stood there, stunned. Main characters? Villain? What the hell was this? And the most important part, they were in a hotel room together? She told me she was having a girls' night out. Shaking off the shock, I composed myself and asked, trying to sound casual, okay, I'm heading out now. By the way, it's almost 11. Is your thing wrapping up soon? I can come pick you up after. There was a pause on the other end. Then Chloe's voice, a little different now. No need, honey. The girls decided we're making it an all-nighter. Hitting up a karaoke bar. I won't be coming home. You just drop off the stuff for Ethan and get some rest. Okay? Her voice was still soft, but it now had a husky, bedroom quality to it that usually made my skin tingle. This time, my heart sank to the floor. That was the voice she only ever used when we were intimate. I suppressed the storm brewing inside me, said a quiet, okay, and hung up. The text feed kept scrolling. God, hurry up already. The main characters are just waiting for him to get there before the real show starts. Let's go. Let's go. I didn't pay for the premium stream to watch this guy stand around thinking. Newbie question. What did he do to be called the villain? I was wondering the same thing. I could accept not being the hero of this story, But what had I done to be cast as the villain? I'm no saint, but I donate regularly to charities in Appalachia and to children's homes. I've anonymously sponsored several underprivileged college students. Villainous didn't seem to fit. The feed immediately provided the backstory. Recap. When the female lead was a junior in college, her family's business was on the verge of bankruptcy. To save the company, she broke up with her childhood sweetheart and became the villain's girlfriend. The sweetheart was furious and moved across the country. But after 3 years away, he realized he couldn't stop thinking about the girl he loved and decided to move back for her, only to find out she was already engaged to the villain. The villain is the biggest obstacle keeping them apart. The villain must be destroyed. Can't believe he used his money to force our girl Chloe to break up with the male lead. Total scumbag. Ugh. Guys like him are the worst. Reading the stream, my mind went blank. Chloe was a finance major at Northwestern. I met her at a university event during her sophomore year and was instantly smitten. I pursued her for a while, but when I finally asked her out, she told me she was already in love with someone who went to college in another state. They had plans to get married after graduation. Though I was disappointed, I wished her well and decided to move on. But then, during our junior year, Chloe found me again. Her first words were, "Do you still like me? Do you want to be my boyfriend?" I still had feelings for her, of course, but I didn't want to be a pawn in some lover's quarrel. So I asked her directly about her other relationship. This is what she told me then. "It's impossible between us now. It's completely over. I'm not going back, and I won't have any contact with him ever again." I believed her. We started dating. About 2 months in, she told me her family's business was in trouble and asked for my help. Their company was small potatoes, a few million in revenue. For my family, it was a rounding error. I didn't think much of it and made a call to solve her problem. True to her word, she never contacted her ex and became the perfect, understanding girlfriend. So, after graduation, we got engaged. But from the looks of this, in her version of the story, she was making a noble sacrifice, suffering in silence to save her family. That I was the one who used power and influence to force her into a relationship. For all I knew, she and Ethan had never stopped talking. But that was never my intention. She chose to sacrifice her happiness for her family's company. She was wronged. I'll give her that. But what did that have to do with me? I never forced her to be with me. I even asked her if there was something she wasn't telling me before we got serious. She never answered, just cast herself in the role of the victim. As the text continued to scroll, my expression hardened. Fine. If they want a villain, I'll give them one. Half an hour later, I was at the Omni Tower Hotel. I stood outside room 1206 with the box of condoms and called Ethan. The phone rang a few times but went unanswered. A few seconds later, though, I heard a series of muffled, suppressed sounds from the other side of the door. It's starting. It's starting. This is what I paid to see. So intense. The hero and heroine are hooking up inside while the fiancé is listening outside. And he has no idea the woman in there is the one he's about to marry. A masterpiece of modern drama. Watching the feed, I felt nothing. The moment I learned the truth, Chloe and Ethan became the enemy. A few minutes passed, followed by a high-pitched moan from inside. A moment later, the door opened. A shirtless man with a towel wrapped around his waist stood there. Behind him, the blankets on the king-sized bed were bunched up, clearly hiding another person. Ethan Cole looked me up and down, a flicker of contempt and amusement in his eyes. He lazily held out his hand. "Sorry about this, Leo. Making you run out here so late." His voice was laced with smugness. "We, couldn't wait. Already had one round. Hope you didn't hear anything, man." Before he could finish, the 2 men from my security detail who'd been standing behind me pushed past him and strode into the room. Ethan's face changed. "Hey!" He tried to stop them but was immediately pinned to the floor by my guys. "Leo Vance, what the hell do you think you're doing to my girlfriend?" he yelled, struggling. "Don't you forget you have a fiancé. If Chloe finds out about this, she'll never forgive you." I ignored him, calmly taking a seat on the sofa as my men ripped the comforter off the bed, revealing Chloe's terrified face. Her cheeks still flushed from passion. Her eyes were wide with panic when she saw me. "Honey, listen to me. It's not what it looks like." Ignoring her disheveled nightgown, she scrambled over to me, her words a jumbled mess. We were drunk. Ethan came to pick me up, and I don't know how we ended up here. Believe me, I would never betray you. My face remained a mask of stone. "Is that so? Then it was rape. Call the police. If you file a report and have him arrested, I'll believe you." Chloe's expression froze. It doesn't have to be like that, honey. It was just an accident. We don't need to get the cops involved, do we? An accident? Heh. A cold laugh escaped me. I shot up and kicked her squarely in the chest. She cried out as she flew backward, crashing into a side table. A bottle of red wine and takeout containers toppled over, drenching her from head to toe. You have two options right now, I said, my voice ice. 1, you report him for rape, and I'll believe you're innocent. 2, you don't, and I will pull every single dime of investment and support from your family's company. The Martins will be bankrupt within a month. Choose. After a few seconds of hesitation, Chloe grabbed her phone. As Ethan stared in disbelief, her trembling fingers dialed 911. Hello? I need to report. I was drunk, and I think I've been sexually assaulted. Ethan fought free from my men and lunged at her, slapping her hard across the face. You bitch. You were the one who seduced me. How dare you accuse me of rape? I'll kill you. Chloe, not backing down, clawed at his face. This is your fault. If you hadn't made me call him, none of this would have happened. And you have the nerve to blame me? You want my whole family to go down with you? What the hell? This was supposed to be the part where the villain gets cucked and just takes it. Why are the main characters fighting? The male lead is going to jail? This plot sucks. Who wants to watch this? I'm out. Dropping this series. Garbage writing. Watching the two of them tear each other apart, and the chaotic text feed. A sneer formed on my lips. This was their epic love story? Pathetic. Just then, Chloe's parents arrived. I'd made sure to call them on my way over, telling them they needed to see for themselves what a fine daughter they'd raised. The moment he walked in, Mr. Martin slapped Chloe hard across the face. How could I have raised such a disgrace? You have a wonderful fiancé, and you throw him away for this piece of trash. After hitting Chloe, he scurried over to me, his face a mask of apology. Leo, son, I know Chloe was in the wrong here, but I've already taught her a lesson. Tell you what, as a token of our apology, we'll forget about that $500,000 wedding gift you promised. Just a symbolic gesture. Say, for 100,000, we'll be fine. He leaned in conspiratorially. Besides, it's not that big a deal, right? You're a big-time businessman. These things happen when you're out entertaining clients. I'm sure. No need to get so worked up about it. Mrs. Martin, however, was staring daggers at me, her eyes fixed on the bruises forming on Chloe's body. Even if Chloe made a mistake, are you completely blameless? She scolded. Barging in here with all these strangers, letting them see her like this. Have you even considered her feelings as a young woman? Her reputation? And you hit her. What if you caused permanent damage? The wedding is just around the corner. Look at her face. How are we supposed to have a wedding now? She puffed out her chest. I'll settle this. You two will apologize to each other, and we'll consider this matter closed. Before I could even speak, the live feed started up again. Now these are parents who love their daughter. For all the girls out there with daddy issues, look at this. These are real parents. No matter what you do, they're always on your side. Their values are so refreshing. Love it. Reading that, I started to wonder if I was living in a society of actual human beings. Were these comments written by bots? No sane person could say something like that. I thought Chloe's parents might be normal, but crisis had revealed their true colors. I let out a cold laugh and pointed at Chloe. 400,000? You've got some nerve. For a cheap piece of trash who'll jump into any man's bed for free, $800 a night would be an overpayment. I turned my glare to her mother. Your wife. Did she give birth in a sewer? Because I can't imagine how else you produced something so filthy. Mrs. Martin's face turned purple with rage. You little bastard. How dare you speak to us like that? I didn't answer. Instead, I backhanded her, sending her sprawling to the floor. As she started to wail, I pulled a wet wipe from my pocket, cleaned my hand, and tossed it on her. I may have hit you, I said calmly, but let's take a step back. Are you completely blameless? Your thick skin practically bruised my knuckles. Why don't you apologize to me and cut me a check for $2 million for my trouble? Then we'll call it even. Mr. Martin's face darkened. Leo Vance, is that any way to talk to your elders? You hit your aunt-in-law. Have you no upbringing? I chuckled, then kicked him down next to his wife. Elders? A pair of grifters like you think you deserve that title. Elder is a term of respect for the wise and honorable. Garbage like you, who've wasted your entire lives, aren't elders. You're just old and worthless. Turning away, I pulled out my phone and called my assistant. Release a statement. Announce that Chloe Martin cheated on me and our engagement is off. All business partnerships between the Vance and Martin families are terminated. Effective immediately. I paused. And pull all our investments from Martin Industries. While you're at it, sue them for damages. Even though Chloe called the cops, I have no interest in picking up someone else's trash. After leaving the hotel, I blocked every number associated with the Martin family. They tried to cause a scene at my office a few times, but I had security throw them out every single time. The last time they tried, I had them arrested for trespassing. They spent 5 days in a holding cell. After that, they never showed their faces again. The bizarre live chat feed also quieted down. Ethan never went to prison. Their text messages made it clear the hotel rendezvous was consensual. Eventually, I heard that he and Chloe somehow got back together and were even engaged. But the Martin family was ruined. They became a local laughingstock. Everyone talked about the heiress who threw away her wealthy fiancé for some punk, bankrupting her family in the process. It seemed like the story was over, but 3 days later, the text feed came back. I had just finished a board meeting and was relaxing in my office when the comments appeared. Oh well, the villain is still sitting in his office, clueless. The main characters are about to make their comeback, and he'll be the first to go. That's our hero for you. Randomly saves an old woman, and she turns out to be the mother of a Fortune 500 CEO. You gotta admit, the guy's got talent. The CEO was so impressed with his business plan, he invested $5 million on the spot. That's the seed money for his empire. Plus, the heroine's family secretly funneled away a few million before they went bankrupt. Add that up, and once their project succeeds, they'll be bigger than the Vance family. I can't wait to see the villain kneeling and begging for mercy. Once the hero is powerful enough, he'll get revenge for the humiliation that night. Now this is a power fantasy. My brow furrowed. I immediately called my head of security and told him to dig up everything he could on Chloe and Ethan. 2 hours later, I had the report. Last week, Ethan had apparently saved an elderly woman from drowning in the Chicago River. It turned out she was the mother of Robert Shaw, the CEO of Helios Corp., a Fortune 500 company. Shaw was in town for a conference, and his mother had come along for a visit. She was taking a walk along the riverfront at night when she slipped and fell in. No one else was around. If Ethan hadn't been passing by, she would have drowned. To thank him, Shaw offered him a cash reward, but Ethan insisted he just look at a business proposal he'd developed. Shaw was so impressed he invested $5 million on the spot. Unfortunately, the proposal itself was confidential. My team couldn't get the details. As I was trying to figure out how to get my hands on it, the text feed flared up again. That's nothing. A while back, the heroine decided to bring the hero lunch. She glanced at his laptop and boom, there was the villain's business plan. The scumbag villain will never know that his fiancée has a photographic memory. While he was eating, she pretended to be binge-watching some Netflix show and memorized the entire thing. At the bid presentation in 3 days, the hero and heroine will submit the plan first and win the contract. The villain's identical plan will be flagged as plagiarism, and that will be the start of his downfall. Our girl Chloe is amazing. Her body might have been with the villain, but her heart was always with the hero. She had this incredible talent but never used it to help the villain once. This has been building for a month. The payoff is finally here. Go team. Crush the villain. Ruin his family. A chill went down my spine. The project bid in 3 days was critical. It was the deal that could elevate the Vance family into the absolute top tier of legacy wealth. There was no room for error. I had personally overseen every single step of that proposal, leading the team through countless simulations and refinements. And I remembered, Chloe had brought me lunch once, about 2 weeks ago. I had been finalizing the proposal. I hadn't locked my screen when I got up to eat, and she had sat at my desk for a while. I could hear the audio from some TV show playing from my computer speakers. I never imagined she was using the show as a cover to steal my work. She must have been planning to betray me even back then. My blood ran cold. Not only did she withhold her talent when she could have helped me, but she used it to stab me in the back. Me, the man who pulled her family from the brink of bankruptcy. But thanks to this thing, I knew what was coming, and I wasn't about to let it happen. I looked at the text still scrolling across my vision, my eyes gleaming with a strange excitement. What a bunch of helpful little spectators. 3 days later, at the project bidding conference, I ran into Chloe and Ethan right as I arrived. Their bruises had faded. They were stepping out of a new Maybach, holding hands, looking every bit the happy, successful couple. Chloe was dressed in Chanel couture, a massive diamond flashing on her finger, and carrying the latest limited edition Louis Vuitton bag. She was dripping with wealth. Ethan stood beside her in a bespoke suit, his watch glittering with a ring of diamonds. I'm not a watch guy, but I could tell it was obscenely expensive. Ethan caught my eye and let out a derisive snort, his expression a mix of triumph and smugness. Leo Vance, I bet you never expected to see me here, competing for the same contract. He puffed out his chest. Don't think you can throw your weight around just because you're a Vance. I'm going to show you that without your family name. You're nothing but a worthless bum. When I win this project, he spat, I'm going to make you get on your knees and beg. I gave them both a passing glance and uttered a single word. Morons. Inside the conference room, I submitted my proposal and took a seat. A few minutes later, Chloe and Ethan arrived and submitted theirs. After they handed it in, Ethan scanned the room, spotted a middle-aged man, and walked over to him, striking up a friendly conversation. As they talked, Ethan kept gesturing in my direction. The middle-aged man's expression slowly turned hostile as he looked at me. A moment later, Ethan returned, a triumphant smirk on his face. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. I'd like to file a formal complaint. Someone here has stolen and plagiarized my proposal. The room fell silent. As all eyes turned to him, Ethan pointed a finger directly at me. It was him. He boomed. Leo Vance. He bribed an employee at my company to steal the proposal we worked tirelessly on, and he's trying to pass it off as his own. He even planned to turn the tables and accuse me of plagiarism. Luckily, I discovered the theft in time and caught the thief. As if on cue, a couple of security guards dragged a young man in his mid-20s into the room. The moment he was inside, he started shouting frantically. It was Leo Vance. He made me do it. He offered me $500,000 to steal the proposal. I was desperate for the money, so I did it. It's not my fault. I was just following orders. He's the one you should be after. The organizers quickly compared our two proposals and confirmed they were, indeed, identical. Instantly, the weight of every gaze in the room fell on me. I can't believe it. Leo Vance always seemed so polished. I never thought he'd do something like this. Goes to show, you can't judge a book by its cover. So that's how he got so successful so young. He just steals other people's work. I noticed the most vocal critics were faces I didn't recognize. My actual peers and the older generation of executives I knew were looking at me with confusion, as if they couldn't believe I was capable of such a thing. They even brought in a hired crowd to sell the drama. It was clear they intended to brand me a plagiarist right then and there. Just then, the middle-aged man from before stood up. Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Shaw, CEO of Helios Corp. I'm one of the primary investors in this project. I can personally vouch for this young man's story, he said, gesturing to Ethan. I saw his proposal weeks ago. I was so impressed, in fact, that I invested $5 million to help him get started. So I am certain the work is his own. I am deeply disappointed that this has happened, he continued, his voice heavy. To think that someone would be so shameless as to steal another's work and then attempt to frame the original creator. If this is the business environment in Chicago, then I will have to seriously reconsider my investment here. Now it all made sense. I had been wondering how Ethan's word alone could be enough to tarnish my reputation and my family's name. My business partners would never have believed it. Even if they did, they would have publicly denied it. But a public declaration from the CEO of Helios Corp? That changed everything. His word carried immense weight. Now, even those who had doubted the accusation began to turn on me. How could you do something so despicable? We're so disappointed in you. Is this what your father taught you? You should apologize immediately. Beg Mr. Cole for his forgiveness. The text feed was scrolling at lightning speed. The revenge arc begins. The villain is about to be publicly shamed. The Vance family's downfall starts now. After all that humiliation, the main characters are finally getting their comeback. Get on your knees, villain. I smiled faintly, stood up, and pulled a flash drive from my pocket. Before you reach any conclusions, I said, my voice calm and clear, perhaps you should all take a look at this. I plugged the drive into the podium's laptop. The main screen lit up with a high-definition video recording of Chloe, sitting at my desk, scrolling page by page through my proposal on my computer. The timestamp read 19 days ago. As you can see, my proposal was completed 19 days ago, I said, turning to face them. So, Mr. Cole, I have to ask, when was your proposal finalized? And Mr. Shaw, when exactly did you first see it? The entire room turned to look at Ethan and Robert Shaw. Ethan's lips moved, but no words came out. It was Shaw who answered, looking uncomfortable but honest. It was about 10 days ago. So, you're all suggesting, I said, letting the irony hang in the air, that 19 days ago, or possibly even earlier, I managed to plagiarize a proposal that Mr. Cole only produced 10 days ago. The stares directed at Ethan grew more pointed. Just then, Chloe spoke up, her voice sharp. Just because Mr. Shaw saw it 10 days ago doesn't mean that's when Ethan finished it. In fact, Ethan completed the proposal almost a month ago. That day I saw your plan, it looked familiar. I went home and asked Ethan, and we realized it was the same as his. We suspected a mole in his company, and that's how we caught that man. Ethan's eyes lit up. Yes, that's right. I finished it a month ago. I started to applaud slowly. Brilliant. Truly. With a photographic memory like yours, Chloe, you've always been quick on your feet. You came up with a perfectly logical explanation just like that. But you overlooked one crucial detail. No major proposal is created in a single draft. It goes through dozens of revisions. The amount of research, data, and supporting documentation is immense. I paused, letting that sink in. The executives in the room nodded in agreement. Since you claim the proposal is yours, I assume you have all the previous drafts, the version histories, the peer review notes, and the meeting minutes to prove it. I produced another flash drive and handed it to the organizers. This contains the complete archive of our 67 versions, from the initial concept to the final draft, a process that took 6 months. It includes every reference document, every reviewer comment, every set of meeting minutes, and every revision log since the day this project was announced. You are welcome to examine it all. I turned back to Ethan. Mr. Cole, where's yours? This time, Chloe's face went pale. They had nothing. How could they? Everyone in the room knew what had happened. Then I turned my attention to the so-called mole. You said I contacted you to steal the proposal. To have access to it, you must have been part of the development team, right? So tell me, what's the core strategic approach of the plan? If I were going to bribe someone, I'd surely pick a key contributor, someone who actually understood the material. I wouldn't just. I glanced at the gang tattoo on his wrist and chuckled. Find some random street punk, offer him a pile of cash, and tell him to get ready for a prison sentence, would I? Or, I added, my voice turning to steel, we could just call the police right now. Let them check your recent call logs and bank statements. See if the last person who contacted you was me or someone else. See who made that large deposit into your account. You should think very carefully before you answer. This isn't a criminal case yet, but once the police are involved, it will be. The man flinched as if he'd been shocked. I'll talk, he blurted out. It was Ethan Cole. He paid me $300,000 to frame you. He said he'd sign a leniency plea for me and I'd only do 3 to 5 years. Tops. I don't want the money. Please, don't call the cops. I made a mistake. I'm begging you. And with that, the truth was out. The lead organizer's voice boomed through the microphone. Ethan Cole's bid is based on a plagiarized proposal. It is hereby disqualified and voided. Ethan and Chloe collapsed, their legs giving out from under them. Robert Shaw's face was a grim mask. But just as the organizers were moving on, I spoke up again. Mr. Shaw, I said, my tone sympathetic. I know you trusted him because he saved your mother, but have you ever considered how an elderly woman taking a walk at night might accidentally fall into a river? Could it be that someone deliberately lured her to a slippery, poorly lit spot, waited for her to fall, and then conveniently jumped in to save her? I pulled out my phone and held it out to him, playing a video. It showed an old woman walking along a path. Then, for no apparent reason, she veered toward the riverbank. Once she was at the edge, she slipped and plunged into the water. A second later, a young man appeared out of nowhere, dove in, and pulled her out. Ethan was shaking his head frantically. Mr. Shaw, no, I didn't. It was a coincidence. I was just passing by. Please, you have to believe me. Shaw looked at him with cold fury. I believed you were a good person. My mother couldn't stop singing your praises. That's the only reason I gave you the time of day. I never imagined you were this manipulative. I'm pulling that $5 million investment. You're on your own. Mr. Shaw, no, please, I didn't do it. Ethan wailed, a broken man. I leaned close to his ear and whispered, you really think he believed a few words I made up on the spot? I just gave him a way out, an excuse. Now, in everyone's eyes, he's not a gullible fool who got conned. He's a loving son who was blinded by gratitude. He's just walking down the staircase I built for him. Does the truth even matter to anyone here? I murmured. I even had that video faked by actors. But so what? Who cares? Nobody. In fact, he probably owes me one for helping him save face. And I owe you one, Ethan. If it weren't for you, I never would have had the chance to connect with a man of his stature. As if on cue, when Robert Shaw looked back at me, his expression had softened, replaced by one of undisguised admiration. I've long heard that the Vance heir was a sharp and capable young man. Seeing you today, the rumors don't do you justice. We should collaborate in the future. You're too kind, Mr. Shaw. I replied smoothly. We walked out of the conference room together, chatting amiably, leaving Chloe and Ethan crumpled on the floor like two heaps of garbage. A few minutes later, the police arrived and took them away. My proposal won the contract. Robert Shaw and I hit it off, and we've since developed a strong professional relationship. And since that day, the live chat feed has almost completely disappeared. I suppose for that audience, a show where the hero and heroine both end up in prison is a total bomb. They all dropped the series. That's right, both Chloe and Ethan went to prison. The charge was theft of trade secrets. He got 9 years. She got 6. The Martin family had managed to hide some assets, but the investigation brought everything to light, and the money was seized during a new bankruptcy liquidation. Most of it was awarded to my family to cover our initial investment and damages. The rest went to pay the severance for the employees of their failed company. As for the $5 million from Shaw, he successfully sued to have it returned with damages. The luxury goods they'd bought with his money were auctioned off, but it still wasn't enough. They had to sell their family home to cover the rest of the debt. When Ethan's parents found out, they disowned him immediately. Chloe's father was also implicated in the illegal transfer of assets and received a prison sentence. Unable to cope with the destruction of her family, her mother killed herself on a rainy night. A few weeks ago, I got a call from the prison. Chloe wanted to see me. I thought, why not? There's a certain satisfaction in seeing your enemies at their lowest point. When I saw her, I almost didn't recognize her. She looked like she'd aged decades. Her hair was streaked with gray, and her face was a hollow mask of despair. 2 words came to mind. You deserve this. Her first words to me were, I'm pregnant. For the baby's sake, can you help me? I froze for a second, remembering the text from the feed. This is when she gets pregnant. How ironic. The prophecy came true, but the family that was destroyed wasn't mine. It was hers. I stood up and looked down at her, my shadow falling across her face. Some bastard kid, I said, my voice devoid of any emotion. What's that got to do with me? Without another word, I turned and walked away. Her agonized sobs echoed behind me, but I didn't look back. She was someone else's problem now.